Also,
It's time for ACC Central, presented by Just Means Less.
I drive into right. It's enough. It's back. And it's gone. For the cycle. It's a walk-off grand slam. Florida State wins it.
Hosted by Monty Taylor.
In the air, center field. Moore is under it. And on to Omaha for the Cardinal.
Micah Butel.
Fly ball driven into left field. Smith, does he do it? He does! A walk-off homer by Ken Smith.
And Nick Dioli.
Gets it down. Here comes Mac. He is safe. And Boston College wins.
That's ball off the plate for 2 balls, 2 strikes. Monty just got landed on.
There are 2 pigeons roosting right above me, and my can of Pepsi.
Smacked into right field. And
Welcome back, ACC fans, especially former Pac-12 fans. It's a West Coast edition of Deep Previews. Specifically, this time it's Stanford, the Stanford Cardinal, entering their second year in the ACC. I'm joined by Micah Butel, Nicholas Dioli. We're all together to talk some Stanford baseball. Micah, how you doing, buddy?
good, Monty. Very good. Just
Good, Nick.
living the dream.
Good. Or the nightmare. Nick, go ahead. How are you?
Not too bad, Montgomery. Not too bad. Get to talk some West Coast ball.
Monty.
Did I
There
use
we
your
go.
government name?
Yes. All right. We're talking Stanford. Last year, not a great year for the Cardinal.
Yeah.
They did overall, though, finish above 500. They were 27-25, but they went 11-19 in the conference. Obviously, I think all 3 of us were really high on them heading into the season, if I recall correctly. I know I was. They were a team that I thought was a dark horse candidate for Omaha. I really believed in the pitching staff. I really believed in the lineup. I believed in Rentaro. Micah did not. And Stanford looked really good for the first couple of weekends of ACC play. They upset North Carolina at the Bosch in a series. I believe they did decently against Louisville. No, that's UNC that went to Louisville. Stanford.
Duke, I believe, right?
Duke, that's right. Yep, they swept Duke at home, and then Cal Berkeley came into Stanford and swept them, and that kind of broke their season. They did finish the year with a big upset road series win over North Carolina State. And that's I mean, they're bringing back a ton of guys. They bring back a recruiting class, but what did you think of Stanford's first season in the ACC, Micah?
Terrible. Like, they just underperformed, I think, all of our expectations. I mean, I was the lowest of the 3 on this, but yet I was still very much shocked. I mean, we felt like, because 2024 was not very good for Stanford either.
Right. But they returned 99% of their innings, but then that doesn't matter if those guys don't execute.
And that's what I think was probably the most, like, what has me the most concerned was we were all so sold on 25 because we were like, okay, 2024 was like not a wasted year, but just like, hey, we're going to get experience here. We're not really worried about necessarily what we're going to be, record wise. We need the experience. And it's just like, that was not, again, what I think they expected to get in 2025. And I mean, we'll obviously get into departures and stuff, but they lost some of those pieces that were probably the most prominent pieces that we saw last year. So
yeah, I mean, we thought they had 2 first-round draft picks atop the rotation. Those guys didn't pitch like first-round draft picks. Neither one is there anymore. They've both gone on to Georgia. But Nick, what were Micah? Were you done? I'm sorry, I don't want to. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just underwhelming. There was a bit of an improvement from last year, but I think Stanford caught the ACC bug in terms of like traveling, new conference, all that stuff. I think eventually did catch up to them once like conference play really got going. At one point, this team was number 18 in the country, and we're sitting here like, wow, the ACC still was very deep, but with Stanford making this comeback after a disappointing 2024, it was like, wow, we have 7 teams in the top 25. That's fantastic. I think all 3 of us kind of had them in that like 8 to 9 range in terms of positions in the ACC. Maybe
I had them higher.
I think you probably had them higher. I think
I was very high on Stanford, so I feel I'm a little bit bitter about it.
Yeah,
I'll admit it.
I think I had them like 9 or 8 or something like that, and like possibly making the NCAA tournament. And it started off great. They're out of conference schedule at the beginning of the year. They dominated it. You couldn't ask for any better, to be honest. And then beating UNC at the Bosch was huge. But it was ultimately a letdown. Going to see them in Palo Alto last year against Georgia Tech. I mean, these guys could not find an answer in the game I went to in terms of the pitching staff. They just could not quiet down the Georgia Tech bats at all. So it'll be interesting what this year brings. I hope to see some improvement with a roster that's coming back.
Yeah, they were 5-1, by the way, after 2 series in the ACC against 2 teams, Duke and North Carolina, who were 1 win away from Omaha. They went 6-18 the rest of the way in conference play, 12-22 overall. Not great. Obviously, some injuries played a factor. Charlie Bates missed significant time. Brady Reynolds battled a wrist injury and then, missed most of the end of the year. And then Court McDonald, shout out to Court, who reached out to me today, but he was struggling with an injury all season, and those guys are all back healthy. That should be helpful. But they've let's take a look at these departures. And one thing I want to throw out there that I learned is that even if you are an undergrad at Stanford, it is hard to get into grad school at Stanford because Timo Becerra, Charlie Somm ended up signing an undrafted free agent, but he was committed to Hawaii. These are guys that I think would have stayed at Stanford had they had the ability to go to grad school there. Instead, they still had eligibility left. Becerra's at Texas. Charlie Somm got a pro contract. Also, Trevor Haskins got drafted. And then we talked about Matt Scott and Joey Volchko, 2 guys who Matt Scott was obviously kind of projected to be a first-round draft pick last year. Joey Volchko was originally projected to be one this year, and obviously those guys both slid out of that conversation. They're both now in the SEC at Georgia. And then Ty Uber, who we have talked about in the Notre Dame show, he is transferred as well. Not a ton of departures. They do tend to retain guys. But yeah, I mean, is there anyone that you think they're going to significantly miss? I mean, obviously when you look at the pitching, you would have loved, even with the numbers that Scott and Volchko have, to have them back. But Micah, is there anybody you're really circling here?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I always try to circle the guys we kind of thought would be back as the season progressed, right? So I think, I mean, for me, it's the Matt Scott, Joey Volchko combo. Like, I mean, those are 2 very talented arms, man. I got to watch them a ton in Team USA this summer, going into 2025, and they were unreal. So, last year, obviously the numbers weren't very good, both with above 6 ERAs, but I don't think if they were both in Stanford coming back this year, I think we'd all be a lot higher on this team this year. So I think from that standpoint, that's probably the 2 that I probably go back to and kind of circle. But again, also, I mean, I don't want to steal everybody. There's not that many departures, so
yeah,
those would be my 2.
It is interesting. I do hope they do very well. Georgia is a bandbox. You've been there. If somebody pops one up, it has a chance of going out, regardless of how hard it struck. So it's going to be interesting. But Wes Johnson,
you've definitely changed ballparks, because it's not that easy to hit out of the sunken diamond and now you've come to
but Wes Johnson is good at developing pitchers, so we'll see if he's able to work his magic with those 2, and hopefully they do well, but hope not at the ACCs. Obviously, in that case. But Nick, who are you circling here?
Yeah, I'm just gonna complete the trio and just go with Ty Uber, mainly because we talked about how big of a gain it is for Notre Dame to have a little bit more depth in their pitching staff. You would like to see these guys kind of develop more under the Stanford regime, and like Micah said, I think we'd all be a little bit higher on. Now, look, they got a lot coming back. There's no doubt about that. Their entire lineup are guys that have been in the program, but to miss these three guys, and especially Ty Uber, who's staying in the ACC, I think hurts a little bit.
Do you guys remember how many transfers there were last year?
For Stanford?
Yes.
Like going in?
Out?
Going in, yeah. How many did they get?
One.
Last year. Do you remember? 0. This year, though, they got 2.
Yeah. Wow. Big time.
Henry McDonald, Kevin Gian, I don't know how much they're going to push for playing time. I'm pretty sure Luke Lavin's going to get the first shot at catcher behind the dish, but Henry McDonald's got some pedigree there, and Gian has had some success at Columbia. And then the rest of these guys, they brought in a monster recruiting class. And my pick for ACC Freshman of the Year is on there. If you guys have read the Diamond Report, you would know who my Freshman of the Year pick is, or if you remember. I mean, I know Micah's read the Diamond Report. The question is, did he retain who my ACC Freshman of the Year was?
Why would I retain any information you have to share, Monty?
Well, you read the NC State one verbatim without looking.
I did. I mean, I do know who it was, though, for what it's worth.
All right.
Am I supposed to answer, or
you can? Yeah. I mean, I'll talk about him in a little bit. But
did you put him on? Okay, you did put him on there. I was looking for him, but yeah, Brock Kettleson, right? Am I getting that right? I don't know how to say it. Is it Kettleson?
Yep. And what drove me nuts is I kept putting an O on his name in the first couple of drafts of the Diamond Report, and then had to go all the way back and make sure we got the correct spelling because I saw it was an E. But yeah, he is a two-way guy, can pitch, potentially be a starter. He can start in the outfield. You also got Brock Sell, but I mean, listening to David Esker with, he spoke with our good friend Mark Garland, and I mean, they've got some studs here. By the way, Quentin Marsh is the younger brother of Tatum. So we've got another brother situation there. We'll talk in a couple days about another freshman sophomore brother combo with the Costello brothers at Wake Forest. But yeah, you got Quentin Marsh there, Nolan Stoll behind the dish. You got a Canadian and Philip Chong. I remember having trouble when I did an international home run derby kind of style. I had trouble finding a Canadian. We've got one now. But yeah, is there anybody here on this list, Nick, that really excites you that you can't wait to see?
I'm gonna go with pretty much both Brocks because they're pitching and outfielders. So I mean, you could see a little bit of both of what they can do.
I think I will say I think I've got that incorrect. I don't think Brock Sell is a two-way guy. I think I may have put that incorrect.
Well, let's just play like you are correct, Monty.
Okay. I'm infallible. I get it.
But yeah, honestly, this one was the hardest one to do, right? Because it's all freshman recruits. And I feel like a lot of our picks, I know Micah has had some freshman picks throughout our shows, but Stanford doesn't get a lot of newcomers through the transfer portal. So it's going to be interesting to see which freshmen kind of just step up this year.
Yeah, exactly. It's a big time recruiting class, and obviously the last year's class very good. Let's start talking about the pitching because this is, I think we're all on the same page. I think this is where Stanford's season kind of is going to go one way or the other, right? Because I think we can agree the lineup we're a lot more confident about than the pitching staff. Here's some options for the rotation: Nick Dugan, Aiden Keenan, Trevor Moore, Liam Golden, Sam Garewal. You've also got a number of freshmen that are probably in contention. There's the relievers as well. You're bringing back a ton of guys. We showed you they're only really losing Ty Uber from the relief corps. But just like last year, just because you're bringing those guys back doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be better than they were. We hope they will be. But, these guys had moments last year, but they were really inconsistent. But, for me, talking about Stanford and this pitching staff, if they're going to succeed, they're going to need some big-time performances out of freshman arms.
Yeah, I mean, Monty, for me, I mean, let's just read some stats, shall we? Your returning arms, 6.7 ERA, 4.8 ERA, 6.31 ERA, 8 ERA, 5.59 ERA, 7.26 ERA, 8.46 ERA, 10.13 ERA, 8.2 ERA, 7, like, getting my point. High ERAs. So we have returners, but
At the diamond too.
we have guys that numbers wise don't necessarily translate to a successful season if obviously they replicate what they did. Now, again,
Right.
I think we can believe that the process that Stanford has put together, I mean, David Esquire has done an incredible job since he's been there. You want to think that his staff is going to figure out a way to, limit some of the issues. I mean, they had a lot of guys with walks last year. They had a lot of high strikeout guys returning. That's one thing that you can look at. A lot of these guys, their strikeout to walk ratio is pretty solid, but they need to step forward. For me, Monty, I mean, obviously we talked about Brock Kettleson, but I'm circling. I went back, watched some film.
I love
Spammer. Spammer. Am I getting that right? Spammer.
I'm not sure, but I love that
please.
you went down the rabbit hole of recruits.
Yeah.
You go. I feel like you probably went to go look at one, and then you end up looking at all of them, and you.
Yeah, I mean, with Stanford, you kind of have to, right?
Yeah.
If you really want to get a full understanding of what you're going to see, and going back and looking at his film, and again, Mike, if you watch this, or someone that obviously just wants to give me, if anyone wants to slide in my DMs on how to pronounce it, again, I'm so sorry that I did not, nail it if I didn't.
I heard Esker say it earlier in that interview with Mark, and I still am not sure.
Yeah.
I can't help you. Sorry.
You're fine. But like looking at his stuff, I mean, first off, Monty, I feel like the first time I heard that name, tell me if I'm wrong, was last year. I think he did like a write-up in the summer, right? Like, didn't he do something like, was he in the California Collegiate League or something like that?
Yeah, there were a lot of freshmen that played in summer leagues for Stanford, so I might have.
But I remember he was watching his stuff, right? This is a well-built kid. He's a lefty, a lot of swing and miss. I mean, that's one thing again, that fits what Stanford's MO is. Again, based off those numbers I just read you, the strikeout to walk ratios for those guys were really good, though. The ERAs were high, but the strikeout to walks were also very solid. So, I think that's going to be someone I'm circling. But again, there's so many freshman arms. Like Colt Peterson was kind of fun to go watch, too. He was kind of one of those, I don't know what to expect, but watching some of his stuff, it might translate well. Again, like you said, Monty, I think at the end of the day, it's a matter of will it hit. I mean, well, you probably need. What would you say? It's safe to say, Monty, you've got what? Doing the math is hard. 7 or 8 freshmen. I know you have 6 on your slide, but I think there's 7 or 8 freshmen that you highlighted that we were of the spreadsheet we have.
Yeah, I think there's another. I think there's
probably need 2 to hit for sure if you want to contend for an NCAA tournament bid, and 3 or 4 to kind of be a true, a comfortable in maybe even host conversation if things go well. You're going to need this freshman class to step up. And again, you're also going to need improvement from some of these other arms because, I mean, again, based off what we know, let's just call it what it is. If you're taking the high school, assuming they're going to struggle a little bit as freshmen with the combo of the numbers that we do have in college games of what is coming back, you have an argument for this being the worst pitching staff in the conference. And that's not what I think it is, but the evidence can point to that. And that's, again, multiple guys are going to have to step up.
Yeah, and you do also have the potential for guys making that freshman to sophomore year jump as well. I have more faith maybe in that kind of a jump than maybe some of these other guys all of a sudden come out of nowhere as, seniors. But Nick, what are your thoughts here on this? I mean, I think Nick Dugan and Aiden Keenan are going to be a decent 1-2 punch in the rotation if those two can stay healthy and log some innings. But then it's figuring out everybody else's spots.
And I don't mean to cut off Nick before he goes, but I've read a lot of Stanford stuff that I've kind of found, again, deep diving things. Liam Golden at Monty, I think you highlighted it too when we talked back in the fall. He's had a pretty good fall. It sounded like. Again, he's someone that, of the guys we highlighted, had one of the worst walk to strikeout ratios. I mean, he only appeared in 9 innings, but it sounded like he's limited some of those walks. If he takes a step forward, now you got him listed as a potential rotation option. If he can be a good Sunday guy for them, I mean, that would be obviously massive for this season.
Absolutely.
For me, I mean, I'm going to sort of just cop out here and just say, dude, everybody really just needs to improve, man. I mean, I think we all know that last year was so disappointing, and I think the pitching staff had a big part in it. I mean, it is hard to imagine Stanford not make the NCAA tournament for a third year in a row when, again, we're 2 years off of them making Omaha 5 years in a row. So this really does need to be like Micah just rattled off all those ERAs. There's someone there that has a 10 ERA from last season.
Multiple.
It's everyone's gonna have to like step up and show what they got. And I mean, it's not like they're playing at a batting friendly ballpark. It's the Sunken Diamond. Like that is a pitcher friendly ballpark with all those high ERAs. Is pretty crazy. But yeah, I think a lot of the freshmen, we'll probably see a lot of those guys too if we see these guys coming back struggle.
Absolutely. I do have faith in Dugan and Keenan at the top of the rotation, but I think they're going to improve on the numbers they had last year. For Dugan, it was a 4.80. He's the best returning ERA. And then Aiden Keenan obviously was very good in a closing role. He had a 5.59. Those are two guys I'm really eyeing. Ryan Speciak had moments last year as well. He had a 5.33 ERA. You've got some guys, but you just got to figure out that consistency and just stay a little bit more consistent and be able to get outs. And
how much does your outlook change if Christian Lim didn't have Tommy John surgery? He
wasn't particularly
for you because, like, I mean, obviously he didn't have a ton. I mean, he had 40 innings pitched last year. I mean, had one of the lower ERAs of the returning guys, but does that change anything? Because one of the more, I guess you could say, veteran arms we know is out, or no?
Maybe it pushes, it solidifies your rotation. We know what he did as a freshman, and then he had a rough year last year. So if he returns to form to his freshman form or improves upon that, you've got a true ace of the staff with Dugan and Keenan in the other two spots. That kind of solidifies your rotation and allows them to move around. So yeah, I do feel a little bit better about the outlook if Christian Lim is healthy. I believe he's out for the year. I can't remember if he's completely out for the year, or if he's one of those guys that might come back later in the year and be a wild card. But even then, you don't know what you're going to get from a guy who's coming back towards the end of the season with Tommy John, because they're just working their way up. And they tend to not have the biggest impact because they're working themselves back. But as far as I know, he's missing most of the year at least. But yeah, no, that's a good question. It does change my outlook a little bit.
I agree.
All right.
I think it changes mine too.
Let's take a look at the potential staff, what I've got here. And it's got Keenan, Dugan top the rotation there. I got Trevor Moore in there. Trevor Moore had a monster summer, not this past summer, but the summer before on the Cape. I think he was the Cape's best reliever. I don't think he gave up an earned run. And then I don't know what happened. It just wasn't a great season for him. But if they can figure out what went wrong with him last year, that's an impact guy. Obviously, I got Kettleson there in the midweek. They're not really going to have true midweeks. They're going to play a lot of Mondays. And then there's the kind of look at, the key there. Torrin O'Haron is a guy who was the bullpen ace a couple years ago before an injury. Last year was his first year back from injury. So he's a guy that could return to form now that he's a year removed from that major injury. And I talked about Speciak, but you got to see something coming from the other guys here.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. Again, this is going to be one of those. Well, Stanford's going to be one of those I can't wait to talk about in late March, Monty, because we're going to have probably some good answers on whether or not this team, because, like, again, last year, right, they had such a good start to the year, and we saw what they had, and we're like, wow, this team, like, I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I started to think that Stanford was going to Omaha in early March.
Remember, I had them as the Omaha 8 before,
yeah.
So,
and then it all fell apart. So this is, we have almost the complete opposite this year, where we're like, we have no idea what to expect. And to be honest, the output, the expectation is probably low, right? I know I'm setting the bar pretty low. So that's a good thing, is there's going to probably be a pleasant surprise or two when all things said and done.
Yeah, absolutely. I was ready to do a victory lap in early March last year for for how they were looking. But let's take a look at the lineup. It's going to be a lot easier to be positive here because there's a ton of depth. Luke Lavin's going to get a chance behind the plate. They've got Henry McDonald, who transferred in from Cal Poly, and then Nolan Stoll, talented freshman backstop. At first base, Rintaro Sasaki, who you expect to be much better. Jimmy Natai, the Australian, at second base. He led the team in home runs last year. He is back. Charlie Bates looking to move into that shortstop position with talented Rashad Hayes behind him. And then J.J. Moran, who had a monster summer, didn't play a ton last year. I remember him hitting a crucial home run against Boston College. I have him slated in at third base. And then there's the outfield. Tatum Marsh in left, Ethan Hott in center, Brady Reynolds in right with Kettleson Sell and Court McDonald all right there. I have Court McDonald slated to be the DH, but from what I'm hearing, the freshmen are really putting the pressure on the returners to retain their jobs. So you've got guys like Brock Sell and Brock Kettleson in particular really pushing these veterans for their jobs.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the better lineups in the conference, I think, from top to bottom, just the consistency of it. And again, like, you look at their numbers, and we talked about it with Sunken Diamond. I mean, it's a little bit easier to look past Rintaro's 269, knowing where he's also, hitting on a more consistent basis. I mean, I'm probably known as the biggest Rintaro Sasaki hater in all of college baseball based off the way I approached it last year. And I do expect a step forward from him. I do think that, like, it's not that Rintaro Sasaki is not talented, right? I don't think any of us, I know even I never thought he was not talented. I just always thought the transition from what he was playing in overseas to now was drastic. And I saw that summer in the Appy League for the little time I got to see him. I think he can take a massive step forward this year. I don't know if he's still going to be the superstar that everyone thought he was going to be last year, but I don't think he's going to hit. I think he'll be hitting closer to 300 than he will as 269. So I think that obviously will be massive. And I mean, Tatum Marsh is one of the best returning players in the ACC.
He was expected. Yeah. He was expected to be like J.J. Moran last year and not getting a ton of playing time, but he just forced his way in there and never looked back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this lineup, I mean, when you look at the pitching and the guys returning in the lineup, it's a lot easier to see the lineup have more improvement going into this year than the pitching staff. And I mean, we'll see what the pitching staff does, but I love what Stanford's bringing back. I mean, I agree with Micah. I think Rintaro Sasaki is going to have a much better year. He should be able to bat closer to 300. We should be able to see a little bit more power from him. Like, we should be able to see double-digit home runs this year from him. I love Ethan Hott. I think he got, no pun intended, he got really hot towards the end of the year last year. I know Monty really loved saying, "Don't get hot, Ethan Hott," but last year, that was your thing, was it not?
I don't think I ever said that.
Why do I remember you saying something along those lines? Anyway,
we need to actually talk about some of your puns as of late, because I listened to the North Carolina show I missed, and I probably needed to be on that show to limit how many times Nick could make jokes about Vanderbrake, because I swear I almost slammed on my brakes into the back of a car because I got tired of hearing you make the joke while I was driving.
I made it once.
You made it 3 times, my friend.
I made it. I could go back and tell you confidently. I made that joke one time.
This is my challenge flag. Shout out Cookout, my favorite.
It was a callback from what Monty said.
Challenging the ruling on the field.
No, I said it once.
Okay.
So,
and by the way,
I'm sorry. Real quick, Micah, what did you hit? What did you hit when you heard the joke?
I almost hit my Vander break.
There we go. Just wanted to.
Because I was at my Vander breaking point.
Yeah, look at that. All right.
Break you.
Go ahead, Nick. Continue talking about how hot Ethan Hott is, who I'm sure has never heard anything like that before.
Only out of Monty's mouth. But no, I think look, I'm really confident in the lineup this year. I expect to see a lot more guys get closer to the double-digit home runs. And a lot of guys did bat for average last year. I mean, a lot of guys were over 300. So we'll see. I mean, it's a very intriguing lineup.
Yeah, I mean, Brady Reynolds had a much better average before, because he was battling a wrist injury for several weeks before he finally realized that it's just not working out with the injury there. Court McDonald's a lot better than a 211 average. Obviously, he was fighting it there at the end. He finally got healthy towards the end of the season, but those are two guys that I expect to hit really well. And Sasaki, to his credit, he works really hard, and so I don't think he's somebody that's going to be satisfied with that 269 batting average. And then Jimmy Natai is a guy who could have been drafted. I think he was going to be drafted in one of the later rounds, and instead he's back betting on himself. And we get to see a cool moment with him when we talk about the schedule. He and his brother are going to get a chance to face each other in Surprise to start the year. Two Australians going head to head a world away from home. That's pretty exciting. But yeah, I'm really excited about this team and this lineup and what they can do. Again, Brock Sell and Brock Kettleson could be X factors breaking into the lineup, and I'm excited to see how Stanford's lineup does. Here's a look now at the potential lineup, and I would like to point out that when I put this together, I don't know anything. So keep that in mind.
I don't have too much to add to it. I mean, I think at the end of the day, right, you're going to see how they put the pieces together. I mean, I always feel so bad covering Stanford because I feel like it's just, I mean, it might be the hardest team to cover for all of us here. I mean, I'm the closest to them, and I'm still not close. So shout out to Mark for giving us some input when he talked to Coach. But, yeah, I mean, this is going to be, again, the nice thing is that we do know this lineup is good. That's the one thing that we do know is that there's enough weapons in the lineup to do damage.
Yeah, absolutely.
The order, who knows? We'll figure it out as we go.
Yeah. And I felt bad because I'm sitting there researching, prepping for this, and Court reaches out and is like, "Hey, when are you coming out here?" And I'm like, "Oh man," I was like, "Mike is coming out. Let me say." I was like, "I wish I could get out there." But yeah, it's a really good lineup, and I'm excited to see where they go. And obviously, they're going to continue to develop guys because they're an old school program due to the academic restraints, and it's going to be kind of fun to watch that continue to grow and how they kind of navigate the modern baseball era. All right, let's take a look at the schedule. There it is. Surprise, Arizona. They're going to face Arizona, Michigan, Oregon State, and Nebraska to open up the year. I believe only those first three games are part of the surprise series. Nebraska, I think, is just a bonus one at Scottsdale. And then they have a random exhibition game. So if you see that Waseda University game in there, that does not count. It's an exhibition game for whatever reason, but there you go. There's the Stanford schedule. I'm trying to take up some time so Micah has a chance to digest and get his analytical bones, warmed up. But Micah, what are you seeing here on this slate?
I mean, I see a pretty solid schedule overall. I mean, you've got Cal State Fullerton, always a brand that everyone talks about out of the Big West. Fresno State last year was the Mountain West representative in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, the last true Cinderella national champion, in my opinion.
2008.
Correct. Last only 4 seed to ever win it. And then obviously Utah Valley. Some news dropped not that long ago about them not being WAC eligible for the postseason now because of some lawsuit stuff going on. So not that changes much for them, but Utah Valley has one of the best catchers in the sport, Mason Strong, and a very talented program, again, who also made the NCAA tournament last year and made the Eugene Regional. So you've got some NCAA tournament, regional teams in 2025 on that schedule. And again,
it's funny you mentioned Fresno State, but Nevada's the one that actually won the regular season for that conference, the Mountain West.
Also true. So yeah, you're getting Mountain West finest in that weekend there, and factor in the Monday. Obviously, that's always so unique when you see the schedules for these California schools because they almost always play. Not always, but they have more often Monday games because they get someone that's maybe out there already that's going to randomly play them on a Monday, or again, to convince someone to come out there, hey, you're going to get 4 games instead of 3. But, again, the schedule itself in conference play, I love that they end with Cal. Again, we talked about, I think you guys highlighted on the UNC show how, it's nice that NC State was the last weekend this year. Yep. It's kind of nice to get a little bit of that rivalry stuff. I don't remember off the top of my head, Monty, but I hope that means Virginia Tech is the last weekend of the season. It's not
it's the second weekend of ACC play. It's funny because normally that Virginia Tech series is towards the end of the year.
So, but I mean, again, it's a very good schedule. And again, you're going to go to Notre Dame, team we're, especially Monty, very high on. Obviously, as we talked about in the show, that was yesterday? 2 days ago? 2 days ago. Pitt was yesterday. But, lose track of days, close to baseball season. But again, tough schedule getting Louisville and Miami back to back and Florida State. Actually, wow. I missed the Clemson. The split is terrible. 4 straight weekends of Clemson, Louisville, Miami, and Florida State. Have fun with that, Stanford.
I love the realization live as he goes, maybe this.
Wait. Hi, Clemson. But I mean, that's going to be obviously pretty rough slate. And opening ACC play, right, with Wake Forest, not easy. And 2 Omaha teams your opening weekend. I mean, you're Stanford. We're probably going to know what Stanford is when they host Pittsburgh, like whether or not Stanford's an actual conversational piece for the NCAA tournament. Because if they're under 500, which is plausible with how tough that schedule is before before Pittsburgh, their season's probably over, barring winning 4 weekends in a row of Clemson, Louisville, Miami, and Florida State.
Yeah, I'd like to see them do better at home than they did last year. I want to say the only series they won at home was that Duke series. They beat North Carolina 2 out of 3 on the road. They beat Boston College 2 out of 3 on the road, and I think they beat NC State 2 out of 3 on the road. So that's 6 of their 11 wins on the road.
Stanford own the state of North Carolina? People are asking.
But yeah, I mean, they got to do better at home. You can't let these teams come all the way to the West Coast and sweep you, which happened quite a few times. I mean, Notre Dame did it, Georgia Tech did it. They obviously took care of business against Duke, but you got to play a little bit better at home, especially when those teams are making that huge journey across the country. Nick, what are your thoughts here on the schedule before we talk about Stanford's outlook?
Definitely much harder than last year. Last year, the out-of-conference schedule was a lot of regional teams, smaller schools in California. That's kind of spread throughout the midweeks this year with San Francisco, Santa Clara, UC Davis, which is and St. Mary's, which is pretty beneficial. You don't have to travel so far. So I like how Stanford's challenging themselves. I mean, Arizona, Oregon State, Omaha teams like we mentioned. Nebraska was a regional team. Fresno State, Nevada, both regional teams. Opening up with Wake on the road is going to be very interesting. Wake kind of turned their season around a little bit last year when they went to Stanford. So that's going to be an interesting factor in that. But yeah, those 4 weeks of Clemson, Louisville, Florida State, and Miami. We're going to figure out what Stanford is real quick. It's a fun schedule. I mean, I genuinely I like it a lot just because I like the regionality that Stanford tries to keep in California just to make it easier on themselves. It's a lot tougher for sure.
I mean, I'm going to go a little bit further than you guys because I'm high on Notre Dame and Virginia Tech. And those two teams are road series, sandwiching those 4 series you guys talked about. So if Virginia Tech and Notre Dame is as good as I think they're going to be, that's a brutal 6-series stretch there in the middle of their season. But let's talk about the outlook of this group. Micah, we'll start with you, buddy. I mean, we'll start with me, actually, and then we'll go to you, Micah. The Diamond Report, I had them 15th. I will say that's probably a little low, but the problem I'm having is I'm optimistic about everybody, but I still have to put somebody in the 15th, 16th range. I will say the coaches are a lot higher on them than I think a lot of other people are. The coaches put them 10th, which kind of surprised me a little bit. But, I've got them as the 15th team, but I hope they prove me wrong. I hope the pitching comes together, but I just don't have them as a tournament team right now. Micah?
It's so hard to pick them because I just think, again, they're young. They're the what is returning numbers wise say you shouldn't believe in them in terms of like being a top half of the ACC team. But then you've got the flip side of last year went so terribly wrong down the stretch that I want to think that was an outlier. But again, we are now talking about 2 seasons where Stanford was barely above 500. I don't even know if they were above 500 2 seasons ago.
I don't think they were.
So and last year they were 27 and 25.
Yeah.
So that But again, we're also talking about a team that was in Omaha 4 years before that. And it's a coaching staff of the coaches we have in the ACC, with Brian O'Connor obviously leaving to go to Mississippi State. I know, shocker, right, Monty? Breaking news. Like, I would argue that Stanford's got a top 3 coach in this conference now. Maybe even number 1 based off of experience going to Omaha. So, you've got a staff that you can believe in to develop talent. And again, this is Stanford's blueprint hasn't changed. They're still bringing in the young kids and developing them and trying to make them something. And they're doing a good job for the most part, retaining them, obviously losing 2 key arms. But yeah, I don't think this is a tournament team, Monty. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, like, as someone I remember when Stanford and Cal got added to the ACC, and this is going to hurt all my beloved Cal friends, but I was definitely a lot more excited about Stanford when it came to baseball. Having seen them in Omaha so often, it's like, man, we just got so much better in the conference. And year 1 went to the Cal Golden Bears. the ACC power rankings in the state of California, Cal 1, Stanford 0. So we'll see. Monty, I was shocked to see that you had them at 15, but I mean, I think I probably have them more 13, 14. I need to actually do my power rankings now that we're getting to the end of these shows, and I actually kind of know how I feel about everybody. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. By the way, Monty, I am going to go to Stanford this year, so I'm excited for that. I forgot to mention that during our schedule segment. So maybe
I did mention it earlier in the show, but yes,
you did. I know, but I am officially going. For those who watched the Cal show, I was like, I think I'm going. I'm officially going. So that's cool. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to see, because I mean, this is Monty. Is it this is the positive clip. Sleepiest team in the ACC, because I think their ceiling can be really high.
Sleepiest sounds like they're just sleepwalking through games. That's I know what you're trying to say, but that's
team. Most surprising team could be the Stanford.
By the way, you reminded me when you talked about Esker. Esker is one of 3 ACC coaches that have been to Omaha with 2 different teams. Can you name the other 2?
The other 2 coaches that have been to Omaha
with multiple teams.
I mean, obviously, the first one that comes to mind, and why am I drawing a blank all of a sudden on his name? Holy cow. I almost said Mike Norvell for Florida State. My brain is in football.
Link Jarrett.
Link Jarrett. I know. I'm just saying. I literally went to go speak, and I almost said Mike Norvell. Actually, what I actually almost said was I almost said Jay Norvell, because I was thinking Link Jarrett, and I was like, whoa, we need help here. But anyways, that's 1. Who would be 2?
The other one's a
Dan McDonald. Does Dan McDonald count because he played for the Citadel in Omaha? Is that what you're counting?
Did he go to the Citadel to Omaha?
Yeah, he was on the Citadel.
Then I'm wrong. He's another one, because I am counting a player. It's James Ramsey.
Who else did he go to Omaha with besides?
Oh no, he went with Florida State both times. Never mind. It was Dan McDonald. It was 2 other coaches. You got it. Nice job.
Yay! I got it right. Monty didn't even know his own question.
Also, Mike Bell might also be in there with what he did as an assistant. I can't remember all of those. But anyway, fun little thing. Nick, quickly, your outlook on Stanford. We've really gone over on this show. I think this is our second longest show now.
I think Stanford has the potential to be a team like BC or Notre Dame from last year, where they kind of pulled some upsets, and Notre Dame was kind of on the cusp of making the regionals. They have the potential to do that. Okay, fine.
I'm just kidding.
Micah said sleepiest team. I think they're just the team with the biggest question mark, to be honest with you, because we were so far off on them last year. We all thought that they had the potential to go to Omaha. I remember you asking us last year, where's our cutoff on teams in the ACC that can go to Omaha? Our last teams in was Stanford, and we were just way off. They bring back a lineup, which we all said, has to produce, do a little bit more, and the pitching needs to do a lot more. So biggest question mark team, I'm still going to play it safe and say they do not make the NCAA tournament. But they could pull off some upsets. I think they have that potential to be a BC from last year or Notre Dame.
All right, there we have it. Our second longest show so far at almost 45 minutes. You got trivia, you got puns, you got fun, you got Nick and Micah going at it. It's been a complete show. We'll be back tomorrow night with the University of Virginia. Until then, it just means less.
Trees.